Do you truly have no shame, Amir? No shame at all. What you have done goes beyond disgrace. It is moral, disgusting. You should be hanging your
The things they expect me to accomplish. Well, look who it is. You have made quite a stir, and given the state of things, that is a singular accomplishment. To what do I owe the honor, Vindicator? Did he now? How magnanimous. But approval is approval, and I will gladly take it. I will spare you much of the technical detail, as I confess that pieces of it I barely understand myself. One cannot help but notice the energy field around the scaled citadel. Until we can get through it, we cannot shut down the experiment inside, and it has proved quite impossible to get through. We had the beginnings of a plan to build a makeshift contraption to redirect grav drive energy to see if we could penetrate the barrier, but the project came to a halt. Politics got in the way.
This seems like the one time to set politics aside.
Every one of the houses needs to contribute, and every one realized they could potentially use it for leverage. What should have been a cooperative effort turned contentious. Easy decisions became negotiations. And so, construction never began. We have sat here, staring at this disaster as supplies pile up for well over a week now. Serpent help us, it is infuriating. Indeed. All must serve. I believe, if you're here, the Council has likely sent word to the houses that it's time to stop the infighting. I doubt it will be enough. I need to oversee construction here, make sure things are built to specifications. If you could follow up with the houses, that may speed up the process. The first convert in generations. The only one to have heard from the speaker since the disaster. Oh, I think they will listen. House Fetal owes us access codes for the city power grid. It's the only way to guarantee enough power to activate the device. House Kadik was supposed to provide a young scientist named Sahima to help me. She had at least some experience with the original Citadel experiment. No idea why they refused to send her. And Hasmek, the new elder of House Dulkef, he has been distant, guarded. He claims to have vital information about an important component of the experiment, but has withheld it. Help me get what we need, and we will see what we can do for the Speaker, and for House Varun. And I may have something that can help you in whatever trials the Serpent puts before you as we navigate this. We have been nearly overwhelmed with all that has happened over the last few weeks, but I have still spent some time doing my own research when I can. These phantoms, the vortex. Fascinating subject, really. If only there were some less disastrous way we could have discovered all this. Yes, exactly. I am glad I am not the only one who can see that. Does nothing to make the loss any easier, but still. We have encountered several interesting phenomena. First, while the phantoms shift to a fully human form when killed, they often retain small shards that appear to be an almost crystallized version of vortex energy. Second, we have learned that killing the phantoms sometimes causes an even greater disturbance. Horrors, as they have been colloquially termed, can appear from somewhere. We are unsure of their origin, but it is not within our universe. These horrors and their spawn are infested with cysts, a seemingly organic manifestation of vortex energy. we have managed to collect enough to run experiments and have devised a method of combining them into an explosive mixture with varying properties. While they have no use in the development of the morning device, if you find yourself out in the field, I believe they could have more practical applications. Well then, allow me to provide you with a few starting samples. The process is simple enough that any industrial workstation should suffice, if you have the materials. And depending on how you combine said materials, you may find the results to be somewhat variable. I hope you can use that to your advantage. Yes, depending on how much trouble you're getting into. We have been nearly overwhelmed with all that has happened over the last few weeks, but I have still spent some time doing my own research when I can. These phantoms, the vortex. Fascinating subject, really. If only there were some less disastrous way we could have discovered all this. I know. I have lost friends and colleagues myself. We have encountered several interesting phenomena. First, while the phantoms shift to a fully human form when killed, they often retain small shards that appear to be an almost crystallized version of vortex energy. Second, we have learned that killing the phantoms sometimes causes these horrors we have managed to collect. While they have no... I do hope you are not questioning the thoroughness of my research. The process is simple enough that any industrial workstation, and depending on how you... Not enough to have prevented it from happening. If I had any idea it was going to turn out like this, it had been Inasco's primary goal for some time. A way to recreate Jinan Varun's encounter with the Great Serpent. Everything we knew about grav drive technology, every scientific advancement we'd made in the last 100 years was poured into it. Towards the end, I was just so exhausted. I asked for a brief time off. Had I not, I would be trapped in there with the rest of the science team. Yes, I am sure that is how some would see it. I left the project weeks before the disaster, and at that point, we were nowhere near ready. Some breakthroughs were made shortly thereafter, and they ran the experiment. And here we are. Just look around. I'm sure you have at least some idea of how much we have physically lost. A huge portion of the city is just gone. And those left behind are struggling. Supplies are limited. There is so much work to be done, and we are all just so tired. I hope that eventually we can return things to the way they were, but we must be...
All must serve. I hope when you return to the settled systems, you'll aid in showing them the true path.
Can't be serious granting them an audience. This is exactly the impression we don't want to give.
Please, Jamal. Don't you see how all this works in our favor? It's not up for discussion. I won't risk what we've worked so hard to achieve. It's done.
No, you'd risk our future and reputation as a house. But you are the chosen elder.
Ah, don't patronize me. The Great Serpent spared our house. We are favored here. And shouldn't you get back to the council? We can't afford to be absent at a time like this.
I guarantee I'm not missing much. But you're right. I'll be heading back soon enough. Yes?
So, Akris has sent our newest Vindicator to inquire about Zahima. Don't worry, Jamal's already told me all about you. I'm Razma, Elder of House Kadik and head of the Ministry of Conjunction. Well, it's also an honor to meet one as interesting as yourself. I wouldn't have suspected an outsider to be made promised. But who am I to argue with the Great Serpent's choice? I know the Council is looking to Zahima for answers, but the truth is, she's been taken, along with other members of the House. They're being held hostage by zealots, and now they're demanding negotiations.
This is a major overreach. I have never known the Zealots to be so bold.
Perhaps the Zealots you know. But they were once a part of Varun society. Our relationship is far more complex. The Zealots have yet to name specifics. At best, they'll demand an inordinate amount of credits or firearms. Worst case, a seat at the High Council or even the reinstatement of their house. House Maleen. They know we can't risk Zahima for Dazra's sake. So, they won't hold back when it comes to demands. Aha. My thought. Normally I'd have agents doing everything possible to find them. But we too suffered losses. We need to be here. Present. I couldn't risk more lives. It's the only reason I even agreed to these negotiations. But now that you're here, I can finally take action. And that is where I don't know where the Zealots are keeping. See, their name is Merrick. Merrick is a Kadik, and they also work for me as an agent in the Ministry of Conjunction. This is where matters get complicated. As I said, Merrick works for me in the Ministry of Conjunction. They've been establishing an inside relationship with the Zealots for some time now, on my orders. Forcing them to give up the information could jeopardize all they've worked for. So don't expect them to be forthcoming. Get the information any way you see fit, as long as no physical harm comes to them.
Understood.
Merrick is proud of what they've accomplished, so I doubt they'll give up information easily. If being persuasive isn't your strong suit, perhaps appealing to their substantial ego may help. If you can stomach it. Just don't be direct. I'm sure it would put them on the defensive. Either that, or make them completely unwilling to talk. Vindicator. To reiterate, I don't know. Their name is Merrick. This... Indeed. As I said, forcing them to give up. Get the information.
Understood.
See that you do. You'll find Merrick.
You're no member of House Kadik. Oh, so you're the heretic So, tell me, what would... Oh, I certainly don't. I may have many talents, but mind reading isn't one of them. Did she now? I guess this means the High Council is still asking Auntie Razma where Sahima is. And if you're here making demands, she obviously has decided to make use of you rather than undergo sincere negotiations. I see what's going on here. Well, I am one of the few to garner any amount of trust with the Zealots, so she should be. I can't imagine where the Ministry of Conjunction would be without me. Yes, I can see the jealousy all over their faces. It's nice to see I'm being properly recognized. I may excel in my skills, but it doesn't mean the hours I put in are any less. Exactly. There's still research, analysis, documentation. Too much documentation, if you ask me. But altogether, I have the exact talents needed to do this job, which is why I was entrusted with the Zealots in the first place. I admit it hasn't always been easy. They are Zealots, you know. Some days, it takes everything. I can't even tell you how much time and effort it's been to sway the Zealots my way. Not to mention the stress over my own personal well-being. I may be the best at what I do, but I'm not stupid. The Zealots do have the element of unpredictability. I had a feeling this conversation was going to take a turn. I've worked hard to obtain my position with the Zealots. And like I've told Razma 1,000 times, I have no reason to believe they're going to hurt my dear cousins, especially Sahima. So, as far as I'm concerned, that information stays with me. As much as I'd like to help you, I don't think so. True, given the circumstances, a bit more caution may be needed here. I won't argue her importance. All right, I'll let you in on their location. But remember, you're the only one that knows. If word spreads, I'll know exactly who's to blame. The location you're looking for is Shadow Station Epsilon. It's an old Varun base that they've taken over. Razma will know it. Let her tell you the details, seeing as how I'm about to be. Isn't the answer obvious? The Zealots, all that hard work, thrown out the window because someone refuses to undergo negotiations. You do that.
You must have gotten the location. I figured they wouldn't be. If my intel is correct, you can find Shadow Station Epsilon. Epsilon was once a research station, with a focus on grav drive manipulation. The Zealots have since vastly expanded upon it. But it makes sense if they intend to use Sahima to their advantage. Shadow Station Epsilon is one of many Zealot bases scattered throughout. As I mentioned before, I wasn't willing to risk agent lives in order to scout them all. If anything happens to the hostages, they will lose a lot more.
We will do whatever is necessary to bring Sahima and the others back safely.
Now that we have a rescue mission underway, I'll speak to Merrick about setting up the negotiations. I expect them to be pliable after their last encounter with you. The current plan is to hold them at one of the geothermal power stations. Meet us there when Sahima and the others are safe. I see you have a grasp on how I'll stall the Zealots as long as I can, which shouldn't be an issue. Now, Jamal wants an update before you leave. Just don't let her...
Vindicator, a word before you go.
Yes? Very good.
Tell me, Vindicator, what do you know about the Zealots? Yes, much like any murderer or terrorist. The Zealots are widely frowned upon within our society. They're a remnant of the Serpent's Crusade, days we'd like to forget. Has my dear sister given you any history on our house's relations with the Zealots? I'm glad to see you're well-versed in humanity. Razma would have everyone believe she only wishes to keep an eye on the Zealots, so the Council can make informed decisions. The truth is, she's had this particular group of Zealots under her thumb for quite some time. This is only a problem now because she's lost control. That is the real reason why Razma hasn't informed the High Council, and I'm sworn to silence.
That sounds like an incredibly foolish plan.
House Khadik already has a reputation for being sympathetic to the Zealots, but the truth is far worse. Razma wants the Zealots to back House Khadik, so the balance of power between the noble houses would shift to us. She's been employing them, paying them in supplies that aid their blind crusade. The Council knows nothing of her work with the Zealots, and I aim to keep it that way. All elders have their own ambitions. I'm certain that's all they see. What none of us expected was the disaster that is the Scaled Citadel. The aftermath is what allowed the Zealots to grab Sahima and the others, flipping the balance of power in their favor. Razma has lost control and is putting House Kadik's reputation and power at risk. And that's what I wish to speak to you about. House Kadik shouldn't be associating with Zealots at all, except on an extermination level. But worse, we absolutely cannot be supplying them with ordnance of any kind. We need to cut ties with the Zealots altogether. One would think it's common sense. I want you to put an end to any connections between House Kadik and the Zealots. And while my position won't allow me to be blunt, I'll still make it clear. Should the hostages not survive, Razma would blame the Zealots and cut all ties.
An extreme sacrifice for the sake of your house.
Reporting this to Razma changes nothing, except to increase the conflict between us. She'll merely keep using the Zealots as needs arise and paying them with the means to terrorize your settled systems. If you want that to stop, you'll see this through. All you need to do is get Sahima's research and bring it back. I see I misjudged you. How unfortunate for us all. Well, should you change your mind, the offer still stands. And Vindicator, this conversation stays between us.
Seems the Outlaw brothers are arguing in the plaza again. How did we end up here? Don't let the damned curse move!
Let's go, 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 let's go,